love learning pads. Feel free to take those notepads. They're massive. You can do artwork on them if you don't want to take notes on them. You can make road signs out of them. Whatever ideas you come up with, they're great for all kinds of things.
If you're inspired by the poster project, you're going to need poster boards. Right. 2 of those.
Yeah, if you need them instead of a poster board, if you want to put a couple pads together, make a table, whatever you want to do, they're there for the taking and the using. Just feel free to. But it's exciting. We got our last presentation today, and it's going to be a wonderful one. It's Professor Annie Borella, and so please welcome her up front.
So this past May, I had the honor of being invited from the college to go to the Florida Master Teacher Seminar, and I will tell you, this seminar was so excellent and so much fun that it has ruined every conference for me. There were so many amazing things, and the most amazing thing were the teachers. All of the people that I met, there was about 36 of us. It's a smaller conference, and they do that on purpose because they want everyone to get to know everyone and interact so that we can learn from one another. The whole idea was teachers teaching teachers. So on my first day, day 1, I already made new friends because we did make for new friends to interview, then introduce your friends to the class. And this was my friend. This has a pointer. Does this have a pointer?
Oh, I just saw it. Yep, it's there.
Oh, it doesn't show up on there. Well, that's fun. All very excited and happy. This is my new friend Rebecca. She went by Becca, but because there was another Becca at the seminar, she went by Rebecca. And then this is my new friend Anna. And whenever we were supposed to find somebody to interview for this really cool icebreaker that they had, we were sitting next to each other and I'm like, well, do we want to walk around or should we just pair up? And we're like, all right. So she was the first friend I made and she was sitting right next to her. She talked to somebody else. But the 3 of us kind of made a little group and we went and did everything together. It was a lot of fun. So I want to do a shortened version of this. And a lot of people in here already know each other. But what they had us do, this guy named Steven, he was the main facilitator. He was hilarious and he did all sorts of fun stuff with us. Including bringing his uncle's moonshine with cherries in it, and he let everybody try it. It was real moonshine, real good. And so what we did was he had us pair up with somebody. We just went and mingled around. Well, except for us, we just sat there. And we mingled around and introduced ourselves to somebody. And then what we did was we did little interviews. I found out all sorts of stuff from her, and including her favorite condiment is ranch. She also rode horses growing up in New York. And so she asked me things about myself, and I asked her things about herself. And if we've had enough time, I wanted to do that with everybody. But I'm kind of thinking that maybe it will be not enough time. So we're just going to pretend like we did it. And so I would ask you questions and you would ask me questions and I'd say, hi, this is my new friend, April. And I would tell them all about April and introduce them to her. And then vice versa. She would say, this is my new friend, Annie, and she teaches at NWF. And she is really awesome at presenting at faculty forums. So we would do that. And then we ran around the room and everybody introduced other through these interview processes, and I haven't tried it in my classroom yet because I already have something that I do that I really like that informs my students about the humanities. But I think I'm going to try it next semester and see how that goes. So it says let's try it, but we're not going to because I've got lots more slides. So that was welcome day number 2. Now, and that was just in the evening. We got together, and at the end, we all went and had dinner together, and it was a lot of fun. And then at the end of every day, we went to Florida Master Pub. There was a little pub they set up. They provided alcohol. Don't tell the people that paid for it. I don't know hours, but we would go in there and everyone would talk with one another. It was a lot of fun. So my 41st birthday was the second day of the seminar, and so after a day of really awesome stuff, they called me up to the front because they were doing Stephen was doing this thing where he's calling people out and all that. And he's like, all right, you next. And I went up there and they came out with this little unicorn cake right here. And everybody sang happy birthday to me. And it was just the best birthday. And then afterwards, after our day of stuff, we went out to a Mexican place and someone slipped it was my birthday and they paid for me and they got me the sombrero and I got a free sopapilla. And I also traded name tags with a lady named Julie B because we were all trading name tags to mix people up. But that was a whole lot of fun. So what's the best way to spend your 41st birthday with fellow academics, of course? Now, of course, it wasn't all about me that day. We did other things. And one of those things that they introduced us to were minute motivators. To prepare for this seminar, they had us all bring a minute motivator, a class innovation, a book to share. I brought Small Teachings. If you've ever read that book, it's really excellent. It's about interactive stuff in the classroom. I recommend it. And somebody brought a joke book, another person brought Plato's Republic. It was a wide range of books. But we had to have all these things prepared. And then we also had a presentation, a teaching demonstration that we prepared too. So minute motivator, students drifting, participation low. Oh no, a student fell asleep. What you need is a minute motivator. And so there was a lot of these, and I narrowed it down to a couple of different things. And the first one is Baby Shark. Now I tried this on Monday, and I don't think I'm going to bring it back, but I thought it was funny, so I'm going to share it with you. One of the teachers, he said he sings Baby Shark until someone answers a question or to signal students to wake up. So he would go, if someone was kind of good, he just, Baby Shark, do 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 do, Baby Shark, do 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 do, Baby Shark, do 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 do, Baby Shark. And I tried that the other day, and the students just were like, but I tried it. I don't think I'm going to bring it back, but maybe it'll look better. Then another one is integrate a joke. Tell a joke, but make it seem like it is part of the lecture. This one was mine. Make it like it's part of the lecture. Students will take a second and then realize it's a joke, and the cornier the better. So one of the things that I do is I'm talking about René Descartes. And I tell them one day, René Descartes went out to lunch with a friend. And while they were at lunch, the server comes up and says, would you like to hear the specials? And he says, I think not. And then poof, he disappeared. So like I sound like it's part of the lecture, but then it throws them off and they're like, oh, and sometimes they don't laugh much. And I'm like, don't worry, that was funny. You can go ahead and laugh. And then they laugh at me being silly. But integrating a joke into your lecture is a really good way to kind of get them like at least startled and to be like, what? Okay. And then another one that I really liked, which really builds interaction between student and teacher, is I survived 2 things this week. And what it is it's have the students offer 2 things that they went through and survived in the past week. Did you pass the test? You survived. Did you get to work even though you were low on gas and you didn't think you'd make it? You survived. And so it was a way to get to know the student. And this is something that he would do like at the beginning of a class while people were getting settled and just a little bit into class while people who were late showed up. And also a way to motivate the students to say, school is hard. We've got a lot of work that we're doing, but you are successful in everyday things and you survived. Every week you survived something. And so it was a way for him to share with his students ways to lift them up, give them confidence, and help them to see that they are striving in life. All right, so then there's classroom innovations that we talked about. I picked through, and there's also more classroom innovations. So we're going to talk about some of my favorite ones. There were like 36 of these. I narrowed it down to the ones that I feel I'll probably be using in my classroom. But the first one is chunk and chew. You lecture for about 10 or 15 minutes on a certain topic, whatever you're talking about for the day, and then you pair the students up. And there were so many different ways that people would pair students up. One was they'd give out stickers, and the people whose stickers matched, they would go out. Another one was they would draw numbers from a bowl, and you match up with your numbers. I'm not as inventive. I just go around the room going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I switch it up the order of it every time. But then after pairing up the students, what the students would do is do a brain dump with their partner and just write down everything that they could think of, everything that was taught, all of the points that they could get in, and then they would share with the class and have a discussion on it that way. The next one is relax teacher, relax student. A lot of times students, for some reason, I don't know, they seem to be stressed out a lot. So this was a way, this one was presented by two different people. One was box breathing. Anna, my friend that I showed you just a moment ago, and the three of us have an Instagram chat. We talk all the time. And I told him, I'm like, I'm presenting on the Florida Master Teacher Seminar. And they're like, good luck. Tell us how it goes. And anyway, she kind of talked about box breathing. So if it's like one of those things that you can kind of take a break with your class, especially with the longer one. Of my session 3 class this semester is 2.5 hours long. So, having these breaks to kind of get your brain back on, it kind of helps. And this box breathing is you breathe in for 4 seconds, then you hold it for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 6 seconds, hold it for 2 seconds. And you just do that box breathing, and it centers your mind, and it calms down, and it regulates your heart rate, and it helps with your nerve systems and all the things. And she was a psychologist. Both of them were psychology people. And so that was one of them. And then the other one, someone showed us a really funny video called The Grinch Does Yoga. I don't know if you've seen it. I was going to pull it up, but this is all, I don't want to mess it up. But it's the Grinch, like somebody dresses up like the Grinch is in yoga, and they're doing a meditation, and they breathe in, and then the Grinch just goes, and screams out. And so that's another thing that you can do. I am not sure if I'm going to have my whole class screaming like that. I'll try it once, see how my neighbors in the building feel about it. But that was just one of those things that I felt was a pretty good idea of getting the students to kind of like, if you have just been getting lots and lots of information, it's good to like focus your mind that way. I'm so not getting through this whole thing. It's give students extra credit if they submit an assignment early, and I thought this would be particularly helpful in end of semester presentations, because they like to upload that presentation. If for online classes, in class they do it in class, but for online presentations for online classes, they send it at the very last second, and then you have like 2 minutes to grade it before their all final grades are due at 11 o'clock, which is right when we do commencement ceremony. So it's kind of like, if they turn it in early, you can grade it early, and it'll just be nice and easy. All right, so here's some more classroom innovations I'll go through real quickly. Quiet reflection. This was a guy named Alexander, who was a philosophy teacher. And what he would do is he'd put a prompt on the board for students to write a quick 150 to 200 word reflection on a previous lecture. At the beginning of class, he'd have it up there, and they would write it, and then they'd have a discussion about what they wrote about this thing. So as people are coming in, they can see it on the board, start working on it, and until class starts, and then have a few more minutes and do that. And it's a way to get students participating in discussions, because they don't have to think off the top of their head. They already have a list of things in front of them that they can share. AI Live. This one is probably one of my favorites. I think it's pretty funny. You write a personal statement into Chat GPT and ask it to make it more emotional. And then you say, make it even more emotional, make it more emotional. And you run it through a few times. And this shows students how AI interprets emotions compared to real humans. And the results may vary, but they are often very hilarious. So, as Chat GPT tries to make things more emotional, it just kind of becomes more and more ridiculous and obviously not human. And so what he does is he uses this as a way to show students that Chat GPT can't replace you, that your voice is important, and it's your mind that we're interested in exploring in the classroom. Then mindful teaching, the acronym is GRACE. Giving for G is giving with a full cup. So make sure that when you come to work, you are ready to go. You have a full cup. They said that, self-care is really important in taking care of yourself and preparing and all that. So giving with R is to respond rather than react. So listening engagingly to students will make them listen engagingly with you. And you can, instead of just reacting to something with something that you've got in your mind already, you're engaging with them by responding. And then we've got active listening. model and require students to actively listen. So when we're actively listening to students, they'll more likely be actively listening to us because we're showing that we're invested in them as individuals rather than just spouting out a bunch of information. Then there's class community, a space for collaboration and learning. This, can be achieved through group projects and discussions and things like that. And empathy and gratefulness. So showing your students that you don't just care about their education, but them as people will make them feel more comfortable in the classroom. And then a multimedia project. Instead of a traditional paper or exam, students create a short film about a topic learned in class. They can create a script and act it out in a short film, interview each other in a talk show style, or some other creative idea. And I'm going to probably try this next semester for the presentations that my students have to do at the end of the semester. So that was just something I thought was kind of fun, a way to get them thinking outside of the box, but still producing, work that is on the collegiate level. Day 3, after a morning of lectures and sharing, they took us on a field trip to Fort Pickens, brought us to the beach. I got to pet a jellyfish and a shrimp. There was a guy named Charlie there. He was a marine biologist. That is all he talked about. The entire conference was marine biology and fish. He doesn't eat fish because he said it's counterproductive because he's also a fish veterinarian. But he went out. He got some snorkels and some goggles, and he found a shrimp and he found a jellyfish, and he's like, "Here, you want to pet it?" And I said, "Yes." Brought us to the Pensacola State College Planetarium and ended the day with an interactive game show in which I was, there's Charlie right there with me and Rebecca and Anna. There's Charlie, the marine biologist from Key West. They're showing off this cannon. Okay. So one of the things we talked about on day 3 is, are you stratified? The box exercise was something they had us do. Everybody was sitting at different tables and everybody had a box with certain little things like a ruler or a marker or pieces of paper or tape. Maybe you'd have paper clips, something like that. And what we had to do was make two squares that were glued with a glue stick to each other with a certain dimensions. But not everybody got the same tools in their toolbox. And this was to show us that not everyone shows up with the same toolbox. And so we tried to make these in a certain amount of time. And the first people who made this little paper thing, they had everything that they needed in their toolbox. But then students or participants like me, we were trying very desperately to barter with other people who had what we needed. And I think we got a crayon and we had to draw on it with a marker, so we couldn't use the crayon. And we're like, "Hey, we've got a ruler. Do you want to switch with us?" It was a lot of fun. Charlie was stingy with the ruler, and so our group got in trouble a little bit. But that was fine. Direct students to resources rather than simply telling them where they are. This is really great for our colleges. We can bring them to the library and they can talk to tutors and librarians. And they said, be Target, not Walmart. Bring them to it rather than just pointing in a direction. One size does not fit all. Break it down so everyone can grasp the concepts. Skill sharing, having it be student on student. One of the people said that their innovation was having students at different writing levels pair up so that the people that might not be as strong are paired up with a strong writer and they could level up throughout the semester. Build their own study guides, active learning rather than passive, and give the students a choice for their final. Do they want to do an essay, a presentation, or a final exam? And so that way everybody is able to utilize their personal creative ways of teaching, or not teaching, of learning and presenting or showing their knowledge rather. How to succeed at almost anything, almost all the time. This is something that Stephen, the main facilitator, showed us. And it's vision, equipment, preparation, mystique, preparation, participation, and execution. So he says the first thing you need to have is vision. You need to help students pursue their personal vision. If you can see yourself doing something, then you can do it. And so he tells his students, first, create a vision. Then you need to get the equipment. Make sure everyone has what they need to succeed in your class. Preparation, be prepared. We all know that we need to know what we're talking about before we go into the classroom. Otherwise, things could get very embarrassing and boring, maybe. I don't know. And then Mystique, I like this one. Don't worry about what you can't control, just fill the wagon. I can't remember what fill the wagon means, but I put it in there in case if you want to come up with your own. All I wrote was fill the wagon, and I didn't write anything else in my notebook for that. Then participation across campus and with students. Participation doesn't have to happen just in the classroom. You have to have some help with interdepartmental collaborations, or I know Asian and I will do workshops for my students with pottery. And so it talks about, it talks about not just students, participating in their things, but people like us, what we're doing right now, participating in fall faculty forum and having those resources. And then execution. This is the scariest step because you could fail, but if life gets in the way, just try again. And so those were his, my child's friend is calling me to talk to her. Well, you can't talk to her right now. She's not here. Then on day 4, I had the opportunity to do what I do best and share the humanities with my peers in front of the classroom. Everyone got to do a 15-minute lecture demonstration, and it was awesome seeing all these master teachers in their elements and sharing their craft with each other. After a full day of experiencing excellence in the classroom, we had a fancy banquet where we were officially declared master teachers. Top it all off, we had a talent show at the end. So here I am with my certificate, which I am proudly displaying in my office, and I'm very happy. I'm wearing the same glasses as I am now. And then a new twist. This is something we learned that I learned in one of the presentations. Dang it! Sorry, that's the end. I thought was pretty interesting about writing an essay. He said for the introduction, be an entertainment. Write this last except for the thesis, but be entertaining and getting them interested in the reader interested in what they have to say. Then the body, be a lawyer. Defend the thesis is the body of the essay. And then conclusion, be a philosopher. Conclude with a statement that shows the reader why the thesis is important and why it matters. Then day 5, the bittersweet end. I'm almost done, I promise. I know you want to leave. I'm just going to read what I wrote on my Facebook post. It says, today was the last day of the Florida Master Teacher Seminar, and I am sad to leave. It was the most inspiring teaching event I have ever been to. One of the facilitators asked me if I was interested in being a facilitator next time. If I am, I'll get to go again. I'll miss this group of people, though. I can't even describe how wonderful a time I had. I'm so happy that my college picked me to go. And then this was one of the quotes that they had. They had a board of quotes, and it said, many are schooled, few are truly educated, by Thomas More. So thank you. There are new friends, more new friends. That's it.
What was your